This is the DAR Today podcast, and I'm your host, Brooke Bullmaster Stewart. Well, before we get started on our episode today, I would love to mention something that's going on our daughter's online community, which, of course, some call the DOC. It's an event called Pinquisitive. Have you heard of it? Check it out. I would highly recommend that. Go onto the Insignia Committee page on the Daughters Online community. We'll put a link in the show notes. So I would definitely encourage you to look at that. It's a lot of fun. There's only about a week left on it as well. But with regard to our episode today, I know we as DAR members all love and respect our American flag, and it's part of our mission in DAR, isn't it, to educate our community and even ourselves about the proper way to show respect for the American flag. You're encouraged to fly the American flag on your house or apartment or wherever it is that you live. Do you do that? Are you able to do that where you live? On this Flag Day 2024, I would highly encourage you, make this the year that you put that flag up. How neat would that be if we had our American flags flying on this Flag Day? Well, do you feel like I do about Flag Day? I know with Armed Forces Day and all of the military observance dates in the month of May, it really starts to get you in the patriotic mood, and then culminating in the 4th of July. I know for myself, I love to decorate for the holidays. What do you do? Tell us in the show notes. We'd love to know how you celebrate and commemorate these uniquely American holidays. Well, I'm really excited about today's podcast. We are going to have a segment where we talk about our flag over there in Washington, D.C., and some little updates and news from that Flag of the United States of America committee. So we appreciated them sending that over. But also we're going to continue with our Patriot Profile series with a story today about Prince Esterbrook. I think you'll find it really interesting. And then our episode will conclude with an interview with our Reporter General, Janelle Mongo. If you'll remember, as we've interviewed all of the executive board members, starting, of course, with our President General, Pamela, Rouse, Wright, and continuing on to our Reporter General, our hope with this executive interview series was to show you who these women truly are, their interests, their lives, and to see them really personally. We're so blessed to have such a group of women leading this organization, doing all they can to make this society the best it can be. I would encourage you to reach out to these women, to tell them how much you appreciate what they do for us. They do so much to make sure that this society is successful. But with that, let's jump right into this segment today. And hey, thanks so much for being here with us. Well, we have some exciting Stars and Stripes news from the Flag of the United States of America Committee National Chair, Marria Blinn. President General Pamela Rouse Wright's project to restore and conserve our historic Memorial Continental Hall includes restoring the 17th and C Streets flagpole near the Memorial Continental Hall portico. Originally, this flagpole was donated to our National Society in April of 1973 by Mrs. Jeanette Osborne Bayliss, who went on to become our 31st President General. The flagpole weighs 385 pounds, stands 50 feet tall, is cone-tapered, and is topped with a hand-hammered copper eagle with a 23-inch wing spread. Can you imagine? The American flag flown daily from this flagpole measures 8 foot by 12 foot. A spotlight system illuminates the flag at night, of course, in accordance with the U.S. Flag Code, and is visible from many places in the city. Mrs. Wright requested that a second rope be added to the flagpole. This provides a special opportunity for members to purchase a flag that has flown over Memorial Continental Hall at the DAR store. You may also order a flag that was flown in honor or memory of a special individual or group by visiting the DAR store online. The flag comes in an attractive box with a customized certificate for immediate presentation. We'll add a link in the show notes for the DAR store webpage to order a Memorial Continental Hall flag. Now, with regard to Continental Congress, please join the Flag and the DAR, SAR, and SR committees during Continental Congress on Tuesday, June 25th at 12 noon for a flag-raising ceremony with an SAR color guard at the Memorial Continental Hall portico, 17th and C Streets. It's estimated that approximately 5,000 African Americans served the revolutionary cause as soldiers and sailors, both free and enslaved. Today's Patriot Profile examines the life of just one of these men, who not only fought and was wounded at the battles of Lexington and Concord, but continued serving the colonies for 8 years. Prince Esterbrook was an enslaved man, a Minuteman, and a private, owned and inherited by Benjamin Esterbrook, sometimes known as Esterbrook, from his father Joseph in Lexington, Massachusetts. Born approximately in 1741, Prince would have been part of a relatively small population of enslaved people in Lexington, yet he is documented as being one of an estimated 77 militia soldiers who gathered at the Buckman Tavern on April 19, 1775, following a call by Captain John Parker to assemble the Lexington militia in response to an impending approach by 700 British troops to the area. Shots were exchanged between the Lexington men and the British, and the aftermath left 8 militia men dead and 9 injured. Prince Esterbrook, among the wounded, was taken back to the Esterbrook home and subsequently treated by Dr. Joseph Fisk. Within 2 months, Esterbrook had healed sufficiently to return to service and could be found among the Lexington Company men charged with guard duty of the headquarters of the Continental Army in Cambridge, Massachusetts, during the Battle of Bunker Hill on June 17th and 18th, 1775. Prince Esterbrook ultimately returned from his 8 years of service during the war to Lexington as a free man. It was noted in the 1790 census records that a, quote, non-white free man, end quote, was a resident of Benjamin Esterbrook's household. Well, Benjamin Esterbrook died in 1803, and Prince, who would have been in his 60s at the time, is believed to have moved with Benjamin's son Nathan to Ashby, Massachusetts. Prince Esterbrook died in 1830 and is buried behind Ashby Church. In 1930, the U.S. Department of War replaced his original modest headstone with one acknowledging his service to our country during the War for Independence. Not much was known about the man until Alice Hinkle, also known as Mickey, wrote her book entitled Prince Esterbrook, Slave and Soldier. In the book, she chronicles Esterbrook's past and journey through the Revolutionary War, ultimately leading to his owner, Benjamin Esterbrook, freeing him at the end of the war. As many DAR members and genealogists are familiar with the battles in which their Patriot ancestors fought, perhaps one of these companies or battles would be familiar to you. Historical records affirm Esterbrook's service, including time with the following units: with Captain Parker's company in Cambridge in 1775, with Colonel Jonathan Reed's regiment at Fort Ticonderoga in 75 to 76, with Colonel Eleazar Brooks' regiment at Cambridge 1776 to 1777. As part of a group of men raised to reinforce the Continental Army in 1780 to 81, with Colonel John Greeton's regiment in 1782, and with Colonel Michael Jackson's regiment in 1783. So many fought with extraordinary bravery and skill, their exploits lost to our collective memory. But as you know, the National Society Daughters of the American Revolution has committed to recognizing all of our Patriot ancestors, those whose crucial contributions to the conflict will be remembered and honored, and today, that Patriot is Prince Esterbrook of Massachusetts. Janelle Mongo, thank you so much for being here today with us. Of course, you serve as the Reporter General for the Wright administration. Tell us a little bit about you. How long have you been a part of DAR?
Thank you, Brooke. I'm so glad to be able to visit with you today. I have been a DAR member for about 38 years. I signed on a short form back in 1986 under, I'm proud to say, Mrs. Fleck was the signer on my application. Actually, the first half of my time in DAR up until about 2006, I was really inactive. And when I became active, I had retired from working for the state of Arkansas doing nursing home inspections. And some friends of mine who were DAR had tried to get me to come to a meeting, and I finally did and transferred my membership from Nebraska. And the first job they gave me shortly after I joined was to be the chapter treasurer. And the chapter treasurer was getting ready to be her state vice regent, and she needed to be relieved of her duties. And since I was treasurer of another organization, they thought I could do this job too. And shortly after that, I was chapter regent, and the rest is history.
As it happens, right? Was there ever anything when you were growing up as a young girl that you thought you'd never do as an adult woman?
Oh, yes. Joining the military. I was approached by a recruiter when I was a senior in college, and they were looking for dietetic interns, and I happened to be studying dietetics at the time and preparing to find a place to do my dietetic internship. And I ended up, by the time the meeting was over, agreeing to join. So I spent 6 years in the Air Force as a registered dietitian, and once the 6 years was over, I got married and quit working until 10 years later I went to work for the state of Arkansas.
Speaking of family, do you have family in DAR?
I do. I have 2 sisters who are members. I signed a short form on my one sister, 2 years younger than myself, and I recently convinced my second sister to join. Neither of them are active, but they're there, and we enjoy the DAR friendship.
And we all have seasons of being involved and not involved. Sometimes we can and sometimes we can't, right? Now, tell us about Reporter General. What are your primary duties in that role?
In that role, I am over the office that is commonly referred to as committee services. Through that office, the 2 employees there, Lakeisha and Valerie, have worked in many jobs within the DAR, and they're familiar with a lot of what goes on in the building. They're there to answer questions that come in on different committees. They carry out duties such as preparing certificates. They prepare all of the Congress certificates for other committees. They work the VAVS appointments for the Service for Veteran Committee. So they have a myriad of duties for other committees that they work on.
Well, Janelle, is there anything that people would be surprised to learn about you, do you think?
Well, I grew up on a ranch dairy farm. I was young enough that we were still milking cows by hand, and I milked cows at a very early age on a one-legged stool. The stool was designed that way so that as you leaned into the cow, as you milked, if they rocked or rolled or tried to kick, you could just lean on the cow and move on that one-legged stool.
How did that work out for you? You just were able to rock and you never fell over?
I'm not saying we didn't fall over. It just made it easier to move with the motion of the cow.
That's great. Thank you so much for being here today, Janelle.
Thank you so much, Brooke.
Well, we leave you today with a bit of a poem by Oliver Wendell Holmes. You may have heard it before, but perhaps not many of its verses. It's entitled The Voyage of the Good Ship Union, written in 1862. But let's just share a few of the verses with you today. 'Tis midnight, through my troubled dream, loud wails the tempest cry. Before the gale, with tattered sail, a ship goes plunging by. What name? Where bound? The rocks around repeat the loud halloo. The good ship Union, southward bound, God help her and her crew. And is the old flag flying still that o'er your fathers flew, with bands of white and rosy light and field of starry blue? I look aloft, its folds full oft have braved the roaring blast, and still shall fly when from the sky this black typhoon has passed. The good ship Union's voyage is o'er, at anchor safe she swings, and loud and clear with cheer on cheer her joyous welcome rings. Hurrah, hurrah, it shakes the wave, it thunders on the shore. one flag, one land, one heart, one hand, one nation, evermore. Well, thanks for listening and be well, dear friends. Let's celebrate the stars and stripes forever, and remember, with all of your ancestors behind you, you are the result of the love of thousands. This podcast is written and produced by our incredible team of writers and editors, and we are, as always, so grateful for President General Pamela Edwards Rouse Wright and Historian General Suzanne Heskey for their constant guidance, and to Janelle Mongo and Marria Blinn for being so generous with their time. The National Society Daughters of the American Revolution is a non-profit, non-political, volunteer women's service organization dedicated to promoting patriotism, preserving American history, and securing America's future through better education for children. Members are all lineal descendants of those who supported the cause of independence in the Revolutionary War. For more information, please visit dar.org. This is the DAR Today podcast.